We're moving to engage.
reference for this very big chat, this very big discussion that we're having here today about the future of Battlefield 1, the future of milsim in general, one of our stance on it, and as you see now, why we just declared war on so many freaking people. All right. As you can see, one of ours is very passionate about this. So how I'm going to break this down is we're going to open the community up for questions and answers in a bit. We're going to let more people come in and stream in as it comes up. I invite you all to please get the word out to the rest of the community. 9 viewers is great, but we can always double that, because the more people who are actually hearing this, the more who might actually understand it and not be trying to fight us, not be trying to argue with us. And that's the ultimate goal here, is not to destroy milsim, but to unite it. Okay, so Captain Nomad is going to be providing us a little bit of gameplay footage as he's playing around.
Might I also just plug in here real quick as we're talking? That everything in here that's being said today will be recorded in like a movie or video format. So there will be a YouTube link. It'll probably go up on the First FR YouTube channel. So for people who are going to be missing it, like if you're EXO or people in your unit are wanting to tune in on this, we will have a recorded version up on our YouTube channel. Okay.
Awesome. So again, please get the word out to the community. As you saw, I left the community chat, so please get the word out. Let your friends, your family, whatever fuck ever know, and get some of your boys on deck as well. It's important they understand how their community is going as well. So the more, the merrier on deck. All right. So we're gonna give it a few more minutes when they come on deck. Again, Captain Nomad is gonna be running around doing some combat in a bit. He'll just be giving you some combat footage of one of ours. Live invasion right now, 2nd Battalion Force Recon server, as part of our war effort to ensure the quality of milsim. So although he will not be actually commanding, he will be actively participating in a DMR-like style. So again, we'll give it a few more minutes. I'll start off though while we're giving a few more minutes. Are there any initial questions that are pressing to be asked? I know some people in the community were messaging me one-on-one saying, "Hey, can you talk to me? Can you do all this?" Are there any pressing questions to be asked at this time? Please use the chat channel on the right to write that out and let me know if you have any questions. If not, we can get going. Awesome. Seeing no questions, that's okay. So we just go ahead and get dropping into this. Again, please get the word out about this. So I'm just going to kind of read this off and provide interjection as I do, and provide a more personal note to the paper that was written. So due to the community's misplaced interest in Battlefield 1 in general, First FR has been forced to take a very firm stance on the decision to not allow milsim, the entire community, to be in Battlefield in a whole. See, I don't want to be that man, be the team who's commanding and controlling all of milsim, but let's be honest here, gentlemen and ladies of who's watching right now. You have proven yourselves incapable of understanding what milsim properly is. Majority of you have. Now, of course, there are units out there who have, and I thank you for actually doing so, but majority of you haven't. And so it's been my job as the grandfather of milsim to step up and take that role. So sure, you could argue that I, or First FR, is not directly in charge of milsim, and that is true, but what we are the leaders of milsim. Be it culturally, be it academically, physically, and combatively. We are the actual leaders of milsim. We are the oldest existing units in the milsim community Xbox Live. There's only one team older than us. That's JSF 223rd. They're our grandfathers. And honestly, they're show their former self. It's a shame. You know, I really look up to them. They were the absolute beginning, and they fell apart, though. So they're shells. So First FR is the absolute when it comes to what it means to be milsim. That is floating, I will admit. But that being said, you trying to say we're not is comparable to you trying to tell the United States that they're not the bastion of democracy. Sure, they could be doing things that's not democratic, but you're just going to sound like a fool arguing against it. You know, so I'm not trying to instigate here. I'm not trying to call out who's better, who's not. And I'm not saying I'm better. I'm saying we understand it. We literally have written books on what it means to be milsim. So I'm just going to break this down. Milsim defined, and this is going to be a very important note for the future of milsim in general. This is the only definition that's going to be tolerated now, because people in the community, they have no understanding. There's no mutual background. You know, the rules to soccer or football for you, non-Americans, they're the same no matter where you go. You'd be playing in America, playing in UK, Germany, or freaking South Africa, Uganda, wherever the hell. You give them a soccer ball, they're going to know how to play. There might be some variations, like you might be using sand lines in the ground instead of nice painted grass, but you're going to know how to play soccer. That's the same for MILSIM, is we need to have that standard background. So MILSIM is defined as this. It's broken down and defined by dictionary definitions that I combine together. This is proven in my soon-to-be published academic thesis titled "The Path of MILSIM: A Historical Walkthrough, Philosophical Analysis, and Guide to Success." This is copyrighted, and this is the perfect, inarguable definition of MILSIM that has always been in existence and always will be.
Hold on,
this
Colonel.
is the only definition that.
Yeah, Colonel. I just want to add in here, just for the sake of context, is that because saying that there has to be a definition might sound a little does sound imperial, to be fair, but I want people to understand who are listening to this. The only reason why there needs to be an established definition is because how indifferent people are about the shared definition due to there only being a game like Battlefield, where we can do MILSIM on Xbox. So the rules of soccer, or the rules of MILSIM, are relative just essentially to Battlefield. So anyway, yeah, go on with your point.
Right, exactly. Our you guys have to understand, and also I want to welcome those 4 or 5 individuals who just joined in as well. You have to understand that MILSIM is not Battlefield. It's not always been Battlefield. Actually, it's been Battlefield maybe 3 or 4 years for the entirety of MILSIM. You know, one FR itself operated on GRAW 2 for like 3+ years. You know, no, in the chair would be Captain Nomad. Everyone, that's Captain Nomad in the chair. He's graciously hosting this press conference for us on his channel. So, anyways, we're breaking into the definitions of MILSIM here, and as explained, this is by dictionary definitions combined together, as published by my academic thesis, "The Path of MILSIM: A Historical Walkthrough, Philosophical Analysis, and Guide to Success." So let me just break into this definition, and we can go from there. So MILSIM is defined as following: an organization which is comprised of people who have the same interest in the military, hold feelings of friendship, support, and understanding between themselves, and all have mutual respect to the military that is mutually admired. That is designed to accurately look, feel, and behave like the military they admire in order to study and train like them. So I know this is a bit complex, and I've tried to make this worded very simply. That's because I combined basic definitions and put them together so it could not be argued. All right, this is the absolute definition by a dictionary. So let's just break this down. So an organization, we all accomplished that at least. We're all organized at least. We're all some entity, which is comprised of people who have the same interest in the military. Check. You all mostly, except for some of you units out there who are like fictitious militaries. You already fail at that manner. Hold feelings of friendship. I do hope you guys are friends. I can't control that part. Support and understanding between themselves, and all have a mutual respect to the military that is mutually admired. That right there is an important part. Mutual respect to the military that is mutually admired, meaning you have to respect a military, and respect, as you know, is proper emulation. You cannot respect someone by representing them incorrectly. You know, is it respect to Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump or Obama if you're wearing their mask around for Halloween? No. Doesn't matter what you think about them. That's not respecting them just because you act like them. If you want to respect them, you must know them and be like them and study them. That is respect. And mutually admired, of course, means your entire community all agrees that that military is admired by your unit. This is an important part here. That is designed to accurately look, feel, and behave like the military they admire. So right there, accurately look, feel, and behave. That right there encompasses everything. It means you absolutely must be realistic. You cannot be a fictitious unit. You cannot be inappropriately sized, using inappropriate weaponry or tactics. You have to be like that military. So if you're the U.S. Marine Corps, you're going to act like the U.S. Marine Corps. You're going to learn the U.S. Marine Corps. You got to think like it. How many U.S. Marine Corps teams out there right now are actively studying Marine Corps history? Or are we just using M16s? We use wearing camouflage. How many of us out there are active?
Break. Sargon, use I am.
We're live streaming right now.
Use I am. Yep, thank you. Lock the party down, please.
All right. Apologies about that, everyone. As you know, we are conducting live combatant operations. So I'm actually conducting a war as I'm doing this. The many roles of a colonel. I'm gonna lock the party down. Can we still hear me? Hear me, Nomad?
Yep.
Great, awesome. We're gonna continue on. Set on that, everyone. So again, designed to accurately look, feel, and behave like the military they admire. So that right there in itself is a cry for absolutism. There cannot be any less than 100%. Otherwise, you're failing the definition. And the last part right here, in order to study and train like them, provides you your purpose. There is nothing in here that says fight other teams. That is political. That is a creation of the community in a third world. That's non-existent, but we make it happen because it's fun, right? But the purpose of Milsim is to study and train like the Milsim that you represent, right? So you must study it. You must know everything about being a Marine to be an online Marine. And you must train like them. I'm talking hours upon hours upon hours. So that is the definition. Again, very broken down. It has been published in the community chat before I left. Please check the notes. Everything I'm reading here today is in that community chat note box, unless someone deleted it. And I apologize, I can't control that. You know how heinous the community chat is. So that's fine, y'all. If you guys left the chat, that is fine.
That's what I'm talking about.
We're breaking it down here in voice. So we welcome you all again. And before I continue on, please, again, get the word out. Invite more people in here. We want to pursue a diplomatic ending to this civil war of Milsim. We want to pursue that. Awesome. Good to go. That sucked. So again, thank you, Captain Nomad, for hosting this chat for us. So the SMSTR, which stands for the Standardized Military Simulation Team Regulations, which is a former document, they had another definition of Milsim, which I put in here for reference. And it goes as follows. Military simulation is defined as any online organization that demonstrates proper tactics bearing in a sense of realism while emulating a real-life military organization, representing them to their fullest extent. And these, oh no, fuck me.
Colonel? 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 Hello? Very well. If anybody has some questions right now while he's getting that fixed up, I'll do my best to answer them. Let's try to keep it PG-13 at least here. As you can see right now, we are First of Our is currently in a war op server right now with 2B Force Recon on the other side, and they are being essentially spawn trapped. Anyway, Colonel, are you there? Colonel. So again, I want to reiterate to everybody that before we get back on track here with what Colonel was saying, all the rules of essentially, Colonel, are you there?
Yeah, hello. Please continue your point.
Going back to just what I was saying earlier, just to kind of drive this home, everything that we're saying right now in regards to Milsim is, again, relative essentially in only the context of Battlefield, because it is what it is essentially the only thing that Milsim has been able to adapt on Xbox One, and because of the style of its gameplay, things like this like standardized understanding of rules and stuff like that need to be mutually understood between units for there to be a coexistence of Milsim. Anyway, go on, Colonel. You were right on a point before we left off. Colonel.
Hello?
Colonel.
Hello?
Yes.
Awesome. So as I typed everyone, I apologize about that. I was using my laptop. I had a higher quality, as you can hear now. I'm using my Kinect. This is a temporary solution when my laptop restarting. Apparently, it had some overdue update. Never fails, right? So this is temporary. If the communication is still good, I'll continue. I'll have Nomad interrupt me if it gets bad. I will continue here. Is the quality good, Nomad?
Yep, you're all good.
All right, great. So I'm right now operating off of brain power here. My laptop again restarted, so I don't have the document in front of me. But the SMSTR, as I defined it to you, was a cross-unit regulation. It was not a democracy, a senate, like people like to look back on it, a coalition. It was not. It was a constitution, if you will, an underlying rule of law, an attempt to unify Milsim by set rules. All right, and that rule, as I read to you, described and detailed Milsim. Okay, so that's what that is. And what's unique about that is, ancestrally, every single one of you units
comes from a unit that signed that document, because verifiably every single unit that existed back when that document was signed that document. Even my greatest enemy, 17th View, which is literally the Russia to my US, fought me in everything, signed that document. So no matter what unit you are, ancestrally, you may not even know who you came from. You might know the unit you came from before, but the unit they came from and they came from, there's been so many generations since then, you don't know. But because of that, you are actually grandfathered in under these rules. Now, while I'm not going to sit here and bark and argue, trying to push towards SMSTR, that's a dead document. I use it as a guideline towards the future, and that's it. But the one definition we all must agree upon is the dictionary. Unless you want to sit and argue, a dictionary is wrong, the initial definition I gave you is an absolute, inarguable. And many teams already failed that matter, and that's what caused the initial problem. So with this definition in mind, we're now going to discuss Battlefield 1. And I really want my damn document in front of me.
I do just want to point out a question here real quick while you're getting that document up. Rabidfoot, I don't know if that's his gamer tag or just his username or the unit, if he does represent a unit, what he represents. But he asked the question, if a unit was to utilize both BF1 as a team game and BF4 for Milsim, would you see this as a problem?
Thank you for your questions as well. Please invite more people in here so we can have more questions like that as well. I really encourage this. So what One FR is doing, and I don't want to get too far ahead of this topic, because this was something we're going to discuss later, but what One FR is doing is we're only going to set Milsim on Battlefield 4. That's the only option. We'll get into why that is later. But we will have something on Battlefield 1. We're going to operate a realism server, which is going to be defined based off history, accuracy, and everything, absolutely defined and controlled. You will find on this server, this is when private servers come out. Right now, I don't care what you believe, it's impossible to do Milsim Battlefield 1. You need private servers. Hell, we didn't even do Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 3 until there was private servers. It's just a must. We don't even have hardcore, so don't even consider it right now. But when the private servers come out in Battlefield 1, we will be instituting serious regulation on weaponry, damage, vehicle respawn, and actual combative tactics, all of which we've broken out in a bit. But it is possible to play for fun. I'm going to enjoy the hell out of the game. I think it's already really fun. I love history, especially World War I. I took in multiple courses in my academic studies on it, actually, which is why I'm so passionate about this. And so we're going to play for fun. We're going to play it as realistic as it can be, but as we're going to define shortly, it is impossible to be Milsim. Again, reference Milsim in the definition that I provided earlier. All right, it's just, it cannot be Milsim. So we're going to break into now my various points that I had in here about what about Battlefield 1 specifically causes problems. And I want to point out before I begin, I had the ability to write as much as I wanted. I could have easily done 3 to 4 times the amount of information I gave to y'all, but I knew there was going to be a limit where y'all just didn't care. And that's fair, I understand that. So I'm going to break down and explain what I provided to you in that community chat. And if there's any other questions or concerns in between this, I'll happily discuss as well. Again, I consider myself a bit of a World War I historian, even have a certificate in international foreign policy from the Indiana University. So I am an academic specialist in the field of war and foreign policy from the 20th century on. I actually have that title. So first starting off, Battlefield 1 in a historic aspect. Battlefield 1, for a majority, takes place in 1918. Although I just saw, just today, when I did one of the operations, it's in 1915. If I saw that correctly, my field of problems just tripled with Battlefield 1. If it's 1915, literally you will only, oh Lord, the amount of restriction I would require. But we're going to take it that it's late 1918 and applying all the technology kind of exists, right? That means there are many aspects wrong with the weaponry in Battlefield 1 versus real World War I. So the primary example I'm going to make, because this one's going to touch at home for probably 95% of you guys, if you are an American-based team, is the non-existent in 1903 Springfield. All right, not talking without a scope. All right, to talk upon scopes for a second, I want to point out scopes were a rarity. While snipers did exist in World War I, they were likely to be like 1 in 1,000 soldiers. The British Army alone fielded 7 million soldiers to World War I. All right, it was a massive war, and snipers, while yes, they did exist, they were a rarity. All right, technology just wasn't promoting that at the time, And if it did exist, They didn't do like scout snipers shit like we do nowadays. They didn't crawl around fucking suppressors. It does like Battlefield 1 campaign with suppressors. Insult me more, please. But so they were in the trenches with the troops, you know, and for the first couple of years of the war, only the Germans used snipers, and the British didn't even know they existed. They just thought it was a fluke. It wasn't until they discovered a German rifle with a scope that they realized snipers existed. Okay, so again, we're playing against 1918, the Springfield. Back to that. There's only scope weapons, and in a 32 on 32 player game, you're implying at best one sniper per side to exist. All right. There's no primary weapon for the Americans. And if you try to tell me the experimental, that is called the Peterson device. That actually existed. The Peterson device had roughly 65,000 units designed in late 1918. It was never used in World War I, ever. It never even reached the front. It was still being designed as a prototype in America. As of such, it cannot be used in Milsim. It has to exist in reality. One of the benefits of Battlefield 4 is it's futuristic. So you can kind of, just a wee bit, bend a little bit of the rules. Interpretation, just a wee bit. Problem with history is indefinable. Let's see, with a time machine where you can change things, we have to be absolute in how we play. That's honoring our veterans. Peterson device did not exist, and so as such, did not exist in the war. So as such, it cannot be used.
Colonel, real quick.
Yes.
BF1 FTW law, I don't know what your gamer tag is, but asked, to be Milsim, do you need to properly represent the unit you are, such as a infantry unit only running infantry?
That's a very good question. See, there is a loophole around this. I would recommend this highly. Please, be the unit represent. For example, First Force Recon, when we were founded 8 years ago, we were founded on GRAW 2. That game was infantry only. There was no option for literally, we were in an era before video games even had the idea of driving vehicles. Okay, like Battlefield 2 did, but the servers went down for it. So, you know, we were on an era where really you couldn't do anything but infantry. You had Call of Duty, you had Badco, wasn't even out really yet. So we were in an era where we had to found infantry only. As we adapted and came across games that allowed vehicle warfare, we created attachment battalions. So while we are First Force Recon, that's our formal title because we copyrighted it years ago. We're not going to change it. It's our history, our heritage. We have attachment battalions to Force Recon of, you know, 2nd Armored, you know, whatever, air, you know, we have these attachments. So legally, they're with us. But under the unit title, we all have to have an identifying title because Milsim teams are political. They're states. Unlike real military where they're just a unit, they're political states. So we have to have differences in identity. And so we still maintain that First Force Recon title when in reality, we really encompassate more or less the actual full Marine Corps.
And I would just like to say real quick, I would just like to say real quick that it's just, I understand why it's such a popular question and why people kind of have felt that our stance on a lot of other teams' names has been a little bit hypocritical to an extent. But just for example, especially in the context of Battlefield 4, which is not one of those games that has limitations, and people who are newly establishing themselves. Units like, and I'm just throwing this one out here. I don't know if it's an actual Milsim name, but like Navy SEAL Division and stuff like that. Like that's, I mean, unless you're, especially if you're planning on using tanks and jets and stuff like that, to establish yourself with that name in the domain of Battlefield 4, you would have to, be limiting yourself. And I feel like that's, you know, mutually understood by most people. And in our situation, it's, and in a lot of other Milsim situations, it's a little bit different, especially since we've come from different games in the past. So anyway, go on.
I was reading some of the comments while we were there. I want to touch upon something that BF11, what is it? BF11W Law said about scopes in Civil War. That is correct historically. See, understanding the Civil War, the federal armies were broken up by state control, and states were independently funded. So some units were better funded than others. Many rich plantation owners of the South or factory runners of the North, railroad people, whatever,
that's kind of cool.
They would fund their own position. You were elected to be an officer. You weren't given a commission. You were elected by politics. So to run your own army was like becoming a mayor or becoming a governor. So, of course, they wanted to look better and fund each other better. So in the Civil War, there was no federally mass-produced troops with weaponry. Come World War I, that's changed. That's changed because the Reconstruction era, and the rise of modernization, the Great White Fleet of Teddy Roosevelt, the realism aspects of foreign policy, and come World War I, with the interventionist of Woodrow Wilson, we had a mass-produced American army. This mass-produced army mass-produced in 1903 Springfields as a primary rifle, and a majority did not get scopes because mass-producing scopes was infeasible. Bear in mind, these troops were given a life expectancy of maybe an hour. Why would you spend an extra $100? You don't have to. They didn't. There's no point anyways, because most trench warfare was either suppressive fire or CQB combat, running through the trenches. Having scopes was almost irrelevant. Mm-hmm. And those who did get it went through the expressively amazing sniper school of a certain major of the British Army, who trained almost all the Allies' forces. And he claimed he trained 3,000 troops a year. That was his height. That was what he's proud of. He trained 3,000 snipers a year. Bear that in mind. That's for the entire Allied front. So divide that across the 12, 15 allies, 3,000 a year. I'm not going to do the math right here, but I'm just saying right now, what is it?
Okay.
500?
Give or take.
Unrealistic to have scopes in Battlefield 1.
A1 Doc Holiday. Sorry, you said your name was. Sorry, I can't find it. But I know your unit. You asked, would you support a community where support units had to be their own unit? I'm not too sure what he means by that.
I don't understand what that means exactly. Had to be their own unit. What does this mean? Is he able to reply? Is part of that fast?
Would you support a community where support units had to be their own unit?
Again, can we clarify on what their own unit means? Like a fictitious unit, or like a, what does that mean? I'll wait for your response on that one. Doc Holiday, please write that in the comments. And meanwhile, I'm going to continue on into semi-automatic rifles for those of us who are here just for the brief. So Doc Holiday, please just write that response, kind of clarify that question for me, please. So we're going to break into semi-automatic rifles here. So I utilize the Source to Firearms blog, which is a third-party, pretty well-renowned source across the military community and, all my Republican friends, gun friends, whatever, NRA friends about firearms. It's basically a pretty good source when it comes to weaponry. I picked out 3 semi-automatic weapon comments at random, but I can find you thousands of more if you want. That's just to start us off. So I quote them saying, this is based off history, the Sai Rigati semi-automatic rifle was tested by a number of European military forces and adopted by none. That's a quote. Second quote, all German-designed semi-automatic rifles were denied from military service due to various problems. These problems included the barrel melting, jamming of the feeding system, mud getting in the system. Bear in mind, this is the beginning of the technology. So they had a lot of flaws, and they just figured time-tested bolt-action rifle was a better choice. You see this actually in World War II, where a majority of German troops still utilized bolt-action rifles.
Okay, so
even the Americans used them.
Sorry, going back to Doc Holiday, he said, for example, what he meant by support units, tank battalions making their own MILSIM entity, or an aircraft squadron for fixed wings.
I would think that's a very, very unique aspect of MILSIM to do that. That is something I would support. So much this community is so held up on the idea of being independent states that we think we have to be able to fight wars on our own. We have to, the fact that a war exists, is just,
that's a good point. Yeah,
we're like, oh, you have to have armor, you have to have air, you have to have infantry. So, but it would be interesting though, like if say Doc Holiday founded a unit that was solely armor, solely. That'd be so interesting to make friends with. Be like, yeah, we got it's like an attachment of the U.S. Army working at the Marine Corps. That happens all the damn time. Yeah, we have second strikers helping out us today, boys, on the attack. That's cool. That happens all the time. But one thing you can't do though is cross your units. You can't let your Marine Corps unit be a half Marine Corps, half Army unit. You gotta designate yourself. But if you made yourself specific, said we're an Army unit, to be an Army armor unit. So that's who we are. That'll make you very unique. That allows for specialization. That allows for you to be important. Why do people get professions like a doctor? Because you're important. You're specialized. You're not just a general doctor. You're a pediatrician. Specializing is good. Believe it or not, one of FR takes pride in specializing in logistics. That's what we consider our specialization. It's actually logistics and strategy, not war. That's our specialization. It's logistics and strategy. But yes, I hope that answers your question, Doc Holiday. I do support the idea of independently, specialized units. Continuing on in the quotes, point 3 on semi-automatic rifles here. The British were adamant to not utilize semi-automatic rifles due to their various problems in the trenches and a lack of accuracy. To the point that they even quoted Churchill saying semi-automatic rifles is a horrible decision. Yeah, but we all know how Churchill was. He failed the invasion of Gallipoli, so we really can't talk much about that. But point is, they weren't used. What was that, Nomad?
Do we got time for another question, or do you want to get on to your next point?
Can we hold questions for about 5 minutes? Let me get through some of these points, and then we'll get into questions. Okay, everyone? Thank you for the questions, for the activity. I really appreciate this. Again, welcome to the chat. For those of you who are new, please get the word out. Get more people in here for more questions and for more diplomacy. You know, even if you do not like me, please hear what we have to say. I want to work out our issues and not have a massive war across Milson. The end goal here, everyone, is so Milson can be the best it can be. And that's what the goal is here today. So let me continue on. A final quote. In the beginning of the 20th century, every country was searching for semi-automatic rifles while never stepping into the early variants until the early 30s. The U.S. especially waited until the 1940s to adopt the M1 Garand and the M1 carbine.
Colonel.
We good?
Yep.
Cool. Technology, just gotta freaking love it, right? Right, so, I don't know where I left off. Early 30s, the U.S. waited to the 1940s to use the M1 Garand and M1 carbine. That's how long the U.S. waited. So any U.S. semi-automatic rifle, non-Milsim. Any German semi-automatic rifle, non-Milsim. Any Cyragati, non-Milsim. And those are just the three I could think of, but I can give you a reason for every single semi-automatic rifle in that game to be non-Milsim. It didn't exist in World War I. Or if they did, they were prototypes, or if they did, they weren't used.
Well, can I just bring up a point here? I do believe that some of them relatively have a good enough degree of Milsim, or a good enough degree of possible realistic mechanics, and specifically those are the ones that do not have scopes on them. But just again, reinforcing your point, the amount of them that are quote unquote prototypes overshadow those generally. And just an example, the Springfield variant or the Springfield prototype. And I understand this isn't necessarily relative to the multiplayer aspect of things, but it can be applied just as much, where you'll see a great deal of those in multiplayer where they're essentially functionally probably superior to the M1 Garand, which was a World War II era, and functionally they're both the exact same thing. They're stripper clip semi-automatic rifles, except the only difference is the Springfield.
Actually,
yeah. Oh, it's not a stripper clip. No.
This actually brings me to the next point.
Okay. Yeah. Go on.
Thank you. So this brings us to the next point. Actually, was the logic of the game's semi-automatic rifles. World War II height of technology was the M1 Garand and the smaller caliber pistol round and M1 carbine for the U.S. The Germans had a lightly used and produced Gewehr 43. You may know it from World War. And they also had the first assault rifle, the STG 44, which is an automatic assault rifle. The British were still using the Lee-Enfield. The Russians were using the Mosin Nagant, various SMGs, of course. But those are the height of semi-automatic rifles, especially the Garand. We all know the Garand. It's iconic. It's mass-produced. The M1 Garand had an industry height of 8 rounds. The M1 carbine had a 20-round box mag, but it was, again, pistol rounds. And the Gewehr 43 had a 10-round box mag. Most rifles in World War I were bolt action, and easily 99% of all troops were issued simple iron-sighted bolt-action rifles, unless they were emplaced machine gunners, emplaced, keyword, get to that next, an officer of a pistol, or the extremely rare submachine gun, which will be discussed. Now, this is the fun part, is discussing loading. I'm assuming we played Battlefield 1 for a little bit now. Have you ever used a stripper clip in real life to load a modern-day magazine, like an M16? For you veterans in the chat, please explain to people how damn near impossible it is to take a stripper clip and load an M16 magazine. I know it's impossible as a fucking U.S. Marine. I don't even bother. I take out the bullets, load the bullets manually in the magazine. I'm not going to fuck with that. It does not work. So explain to me how or even the harder M1 Garand, if you guys ever shot an M1 Garand, or a similar era rifle even. I mean, we can go on all day. So if you have or haven't, please explain to me how it is of such ease that the soldiers of Battlefield 1 can load not just 1, but 2 to 3 stripper clips straight into a 20-round semi-automatic weapon. Like, it's hilarious. He literally just takes it, pops it in, it's game over. Like instant. I laugh every time. I'm like, this is so absurd. This is not gonna fucking happen. Like just the fact of loading 2 stripper clips into a magazine too is insane to me. The whole thing is annoying. World War II high technology provided for roughly 8 to 10 round clips. So how does World War I, almost every semi-auto rifle with 20 plus, right, that's more than the freaking M39. I'm pretty sure M39 is like 20 rounds, right, or 15.
Yeah.
Freaking, it's just insane to me. Why are we allowing that? Why can you tell me that's legitimate? We can't. You can't tell me that's legitimate. It's not even loaded by a magazine. They load it literally from the bulk carrier group through the middle, and they keep the magazine attached. Like it's so asinine. I can't even stress this enough.
And what about the LMGs?
We're gonna break into the submachine guns next, but okay. I will take one question this time. And again, thank you all for coming out today and listening to us talk. It's actually really shows, no matter what your stance on me is, that you're willing to talk, which is a good thing to do. So please, I'll take the next question.
Okay. Again, BF1 FTW LOL is asking, would you argue that maps that BF1 has are generally located in regions which trench warfare was not used heavily, and then goes on to say trench warfare was mostly used in the European theater of war?
It's correct, actually. Trench warfare is mostly seen in European theater of war. Regardless of trench warfare, though, what trench warfare is, though, is this entrenched line tactics. We have to look at it not as trench warfare, but just line tactics in general. And when you look at it in that light, line tactics were used across the world, from the Asian theater, the African theater, the Arabian theater, even in South America, line tactics were utilized. Right? Western Front and Eastern Front of Russia all were line tactic based.
Can I make a
whether or not they got a trench is based upon. I'm sorry.
I just go on, but I want to make a point here about this.
All right. Whether or not they were entrenched is just a matter of how long the battle was. But otherwise, line tactics existed. Even in like Africa, where they were noted for their extreme mobility, it was still line based. All right. And so that's a major problem. The maps, they don't support line tactics. While they may aesthetically have trenches, and we'll break into the combat tactics section in a bit. Actually, I discussed this. It doesn't actually. It just aesthetically does. All right. We'll break into that more. Nomad, you had a comment?
Yeah, just in regards to that, I think it's a testament to, I guess you could say how fast-paced Battlefield 1 is when you think about it relatively in World War 1, and even like not even with that as great of a historical understanding as Colonel does about this era, but like even I'll just go to my knowledge of playing like the game Verdun, like. How big are the maps in Battlefield 1? You'd guess like 2 kilometers, 1 kilometer probably. I would say one kilometer at peak. And they're a good mix. Like I think they're very well designed for the mechanics of the game, which is typically a lot more fast paced. But at the same time, again, like just going back to playing Verdun, like 20 meters, or maybe not 20 meters, but like a kilometer or 2 kilometers. Maybe this might be an exaggeration, but it was almost like a year in like a year of warfare in in World War One. Like
the Western Front, that is no exaggeration.
Oh yeah, okay. Well,
it depends on the front you're in.
Well, I'm gonna
Western Front. You actually saw
because a great deal of the maps are in the Eastern Front, and yeah, like that's what I'm saying is that.
Well, no, actually, the Eastern Front. What happened with the Eastern Front was that Russia had the 1917 November Revolution, which then is causing the call for surrender, ceasefire, and they left, which caused the German army to reinforce the Western Front. All right. So.
Oh, geez.
Busco, we're live streaming, so please just don't talk if you're going to be in here. All right. So that caused the Western Front to be very reinforced, and so you saw on average 10 meters a year was the average for the Western Front. That was the gain or loss for World War I Western Front.
For a year?
On the Eastern Front, Russia, it was kind of the same.
Just in that point in time in that area?
In the Western Front, yes. In 1918, with the innovation of the tank, 420 land ships were developed by the British and U.S. forces and utilized in the final push of Amiens, which is a map in the game. It was called Kaiserschlacht. After this discussion, we're going to blatantly ignore the facts, blatantly ignore the realism, the lack of realism, the historical. If you're just going to blatantly ignore it and just go to it because it's a new, shiny game, I'm going to, consider you a bad leader because you are giving your men what they want, not what they need. And a good leader gives the men what they need. You know, you got to be wise. You got to understand that, yeah, it's shiny, it's new, it's fun, sure, but it's not good for you or your team. And I'm not going to acknowledge you. I'm not going to acknowledge your unit. I'm just going to delete you from what I understand to be Milsim. And, you know, you can say, oh, but Colonel, you're not the commander of Milsim. You're right. I am the oldest one here in Milsim. I literally gave you the definition of Milsim. I literally am the only one who knows who founded Milsim. I know the founders. I touched the silly face of God himself.
All right.
You guys came, I state you guys as the 22nd, the 23rd generation of Milsim gamers on Xbox Live. So sure, go to Battlefield 1, ignore the facts, and just be removed from history. I won't do anything against you. You'll kill yourself off. Next question.
All right, this one isn't necessarily relevant to Battlefield 1, but it is from Milsim News Network. Hey, Colonel. Milsim News Network here. We are loving the way you are describing what Milsim should be like. Our question today is, what are your thoughts on Stolen Valor on Xbox Live?
Not really exactly on the topic, but I will take the question. I would request that any other questions of that nature that are third party from Battlefield 1 be presented at the end, if you can wait that long, just so we can stay on topic. But I will answer this. Stolen Valor in general is a very American concept. It's very American. All right.
I mean, it's illegal here,
I don't
too.
even think it's illegal, yes, but that's thanks to the internet era, and I can break upon why that's different. But
Okay.
it came from America's overtly 20-plus years of war and how much of a warrior society we've become. All right. If you bear the comparison, World War II, our great-grandfathers, the greatest generation, right? Upon the first battle against the Germans in the Kasserine Pass in 1942 versus the end on VE Day of the Germans, American soldiers saw in total 2 years and 2 months of combat. If you are an American, Canadian, British soldier and have done 2 deployments, you've already served more than anybody in World War II. 2. On average, most American soldiers do 3 to 4. There's some men who've racked up 15 deployments. Mm-hmm. Never before in history has America asked 3 generations now to go to war. We fought the same people for almost 20 years. We fought the same people. If you include actually how much we've been fucking with them, it's been since the 70s. Right? So Stolen Valor has become a very American concept. It's integral in our lives. We got to make sure that veterans are the kingpins of society, that they're the absolute, all the veteran discounts and all this. And I'm a veteran myself. I take advantage of it. The thing is, though, is that Stolen Valor also represents our society's want to be social elite, and being a veteran is social eliteness. It really is. And so on Xbox Live, where it's easy to get away with Stolen Valor, there's no way you can verify it. What do we do? Do we either A, just call anybody who calls themselves a veteran that they're not until they're proven otherwise, or we B, just say, okay, man, fine, you're a veteran, and if they prove otherwise, then they're a shitbag.
Yeah.
You know, by the grace of God, they don't get military discounts on Xbox Live. There's nothing. What do they get? They get our gratitude, right? So thank you for your service, whatever. That's so much. What I recommend the Milsim teams, though, is do not give people things because they're veterans. We are a second to third dimension of reality. I'm a veteran. My veterans and my teams understand this. We owe them nothing. We owe them our gratitude, and we say thank you, but they get nothing out of it. No promotions, no anything. They get the National Defense Service Ribbon in 1FR for serving their country. And that's what verification for DD-214. I require verification. That's what they get. Veterans are an important aspect to our community. They provide us a guidance, a background, a understanding of deeper core values that we don't have as civilians. I say we, but you don't have as civilians. That's all they do. And we're grateful to them, but we cannot bend our knee just because they're a veteran in this military simulation society. And I know that sounds opposite to what you would think. We're Milsim, where our whole purpose is to serve veterans, and we do. We serve veterans by serving veterans as a whole, not on the individual. Mm-hmm. Right? They have the VA for individual benefits. Right? So that's recommended to you. Don't go witch hunting for Stolen Valor. Don't go attacking people for Stolen Valor unless you can prove for an absolute fact that they're Stolen Valor. Don't go witch hunting. But at the same time, don't be giving out unnecessary things because they did something in a world that's not ours. Mm. They live on Mars. They live on Earth. It's just we thank them, and that's what we do. Mm. We learn from them. But we don't give them anything. They earn it. Just like in the Corps, if they're a real veteran, they'll understand you earn it. You earn it just like you do in the military. My veterans and my team understand that, and I have many Marine Corps veterans, Army veterans, active, reserve, Air Force, you name it. Have and had and will.
I have
We all
another.
understand that.
Sorry, I have another. Or I was just wondering. Do you want to answer another question, or do you want to move on?
I'll take a third and final question. I do understand that we have met the hour marker, so thank you all for being here for this hour-long talk now. Much longer than expected, but that's okay. Thank you all for your attention spans. I'll take a third and final question and move on to the next points.
Okay. BF1 FDW Law again. Thank you for asking so many good questions, mind you. Does it matter if they moved over to you? I think he's speaking about Milsim teams that have started on Battlefield 1 and come back over to Battlefield 4. You stated it yourself. You're staying off the game. Therefore, you calling them non-Milsim doesn't essentially matter.
You're right. That's the problem. That is actually the core problem here, is that Milsim is being divided by this game.
Mm-hmm.
Our community, as we know it, is literally being split in 2, 3, maybe 4 different ways, as I break up later in my article. This is literally everything you guys are asking is actually already written down, I swear to you. It's all written down. Even this topic is written down. Like, I knew you all were going to ask these questions. I just knew ahead of time. So please review my academia that I posted with sources. But Milsim is being divided by this game. People, because there's no verification process, there's no ground rules, anybody can claim they're Milsim. Literally, you can be on Call of Duty right now and say you're Milsim. You can be in Halo right now. I met a Halo Milsim.
Oh, yeah, those have been around for years, apparently.
And all I can say to them is like, hey.
Yeah.
Like, even the most heinous of you guys gonna be like, Halo Milsim, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But how are we gonna say otherwise? Because we can't even unite over here in the real world, in the real Milsim. We can't even unite. So all I can say to Halo will be like, okay. Like, what am I gonna do? Am I gonna deploy to Halo and kill him? No. What? No. So what am I gonna do on Battlefield 1? As I said before, you guys are eventually going to make your own community. You're going to call yourselves Milsim. We're going to call ourselves Milsim over here. We're just going to look at each other like we're like distant, like ex-lovers or something. Like, oh, that's my ex. I don't want to talk to him. That's what it's going to be. It's going to break the community apart, and I don't want the community broken apart. No, we're on the verge of something great. We really are. And this notion of a new game, and I knew it was going to happen for months. I've been planning for this for months. Been trying for months to unite the community ahead of time. But look where we are now. So that's the answer to your question. We'll break this more. I want to get back more information of y'all. Get for like 9 time now. Thank you all for being here, and please get more bodies in here, get more opinions, more voices. I want the most left, right opinions, voices on this channel. Follow Nomad's channel, by the way. He's being a great sport hosting this for us. He does actually hilarious videos, not even 1FR related. It's not like he just pro 1FR shit all the time. Actually, he fucks around on Gary's mod 9 times out of 10 like a complete freak. Shit's hilarious. If you watch Criken 2, that's your boy right here. This is your next Criken 2. This guy's hilarious. Please follow him. He's an actually amazing host.
Thank you for
getting going, and we're blessed to have him on afar.
Thank you.
All right, but enough plugging. Let's get back into the historical flaws of Battlefield 1. This is the fun part. Part 1, political agendas pushed via video game. For you Republicans on deck, you're going to get pissed off by this shit. For you liberals, I don't know. The topic at first is African Germanic troops. I didn't say Americans, I said Germanic. African Americans did serve in World War I. That is good to go. African Germanic, here we go. A major reason why Germany lost World War I is that the British and French were able to ferry in their colonial soldiers from India, Africa, Asia, South America, wherever. Especially African troops, because of course back in the day people are racist, they're thinking they're expendable.
That's what I'm talking about.
Listen, all the Africans to the Western Front. The Germans could not. Okay, the Germans could not, and that's why they lost, is because they actually had colonies in Africa, but they couldn't get them there. They could not get them there. Historically speaking, Germany's never had a really good military, navy, excuse me, and so when the British, Americans, French combined together, good luck. You're not getting anybody anywhere. All right? So, for me, the fact that there's African-American troops, 1 out of 4 soldiers in World War I from the German side is African-American, just makes no sense. All right, I'm not even going to touch upon the historic fact that the Germans actually found it dishonorable to serve beside Africans in World War I, so they would never do that. They would actually kill him before he served beside them. I'm not going to touch upon that because that's blatantly racist. And to avoid racist tones, I'm just trying to point out that this is just an example of us following sheeple to video games. You know, there's a female announcer in World War I. What the actual shit? Why is this because she sounds nice, or is it we're pushing an agenda? Why is one of the female characters in the video game, the campaign, a female? Are we pushing an agenda? Why is it every side except for the Ottomans have a black character? Are we pushing an agenda? We have to be aware of that. This is just an historical aspect that just brings in other concepts. You know, the fact that they're pushing agendas here and they're bending history to do so. If we are truly Muslim, we can't allow history to be bent. No matter how politically incorrect it is, we can't allow history to be bent. That's a lie. We may not be as dumb, but imagine some 12-year-old picking up Battlefield 1. Now he's going to think black people served in World War I.
Yeah.
That may not be such a bad thing upright, but the ramifications of that could be massive. You know? And that's just one flaw. Let's get into non-racial flaws. Let's get into just a fucking fact here. Where the hell is France?
Where's
DLC,
Canada?
right?
Where is Canada? That's what I would like to know.
Canada, France, Australia, freaking where the hell is France though? The 1/3, literally 1/3 of the game takes place on the Western Front in fucking France, but there's no France.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's a DLC. We don't know when that's coming out. They don't even have hardcore mode out. How are you gonna tell me this game's realistic if literally the country they're fighting in isn't represented? They were a big military then too. They weren't the quote-unquote cowards. They've never been cowards historically, actually. French were fucking crazies, actually. But why are they not in World War One? What is this? I can't even on that one. Just, you know, again, what's the agenda being pushed? The agenda here is economics. They know you're going to pay for France's DLC. They know you are. That's money grabbing. The whole fact that this game's World War One and not World War Two, even though it plays like World War Two, is because they know you'll buy it. Money grabbing. We all got suckered in by this, and so instead of playing Arma 3 right now on the Xbox, which it fucking can, it can play Arma 3, we're not. Playing Battlefield 1. Arguing about a video game when we could be playing the fucking Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
Right?
And,
Next historic flaw. I want to keep going on.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Where the hell is the Asian front? No problem. Where's the Asian front? Where's the African front? Will they be DLC, or will they just be completely forgotten due to their lackluster warfare? Because it wasn't crazy, like, known history. Will it just be forgotten? Where is this? This further proves that Battlefield 1 is for entertainment and not for realism, not for Milsim. This is a stark contrast to Milsim's bare minimum standards. You know, just our bare minimum, you know? So accepting it is just lying to ourselves. Next historic flaw, paratroopers. Just no. Paratroopers are just no statement right there. The very first paratroop drop in history was done by Italy on November 1927. So literally almost 10 years later. Right? The concept of airborne troops was thought of in 1919. Literally the idea of throwing someone out of a fucking plane was invented after World War I. All right? It was thought of by a shot down pilot. He goes, you know what? I lived. Why don't we do that in mass? You know, and so that's where that came from. So in order to make Battlefield realistic, we'd have to outright ban all parachutes except for pilots who got shot down. Right? And the thing about parachutes is that, think about it, you're trying to play the game fun, you got a defensive line set up, machine guns, fucking getting it, you're killing Jerry. Next thing you know, the goddamn 101st Airborne's behind you with submachine guns. What era are we in? You can't. No, you have to ban it. All right, it's just ridiculous. All right. Now I'm getting to the combat tactics part. We're actually almost done. Thank you all for still attending this stream and this talk. I'm excited for your questions at the end. Let's get to combat tactics. So, as we know, Battlefield 1 is supposed to be World War I. But I think it's actually a reskin of Battlefield 4. This is in terms of how aggressive it is, how mobile it is, how shock-based it is. A realistic game would tolerate almost entirely line-based warfare, entrenched or not. It could be in Africa, Ottomans, Egypt, Suez, wherever. It's a line. They have lines, right? Even in city warfare, house-to-house fighting, it was line-based. The platoon leader would move his platoon in a line formation. If you don't believe me, Passchendaele by the Canadian story of Passchendaele. Line-based house-to-house combat. It's in a fucking movie, right? No one did anything differently because they didn't even think differently. It was impossible for them to think. Why World War I was so tragic is because no one thought differently than the histories of the 300, 500 years of history of line warfare. No one thought differently. It was impossible. But technology, all right, these are very slow too. Battlefield 1, in my opinion, is far more closer to the 1939 Nazi invasion of Poland than it is World War I. Really 20 plus years closer to World War I. And I say that because literally the Nazis, the light tank, the Lichtpanzer, is the same exact tank. It's a Panzer I. Like, it's literally a fucking Panzer I. And you're going to tell me that that's World War I technology. It was, but they made like 2. All right? It's just, and this is in terms of how aggressive the infantry troops are. And let's also consider the sheer abundance of automatic and semi-automatic weaponry, how abundant tanks are and armored vehicles are, and how abundant and directly involved aircraft are. You tell me this. How can you call a closer support from an attack fighter in World War I?
I have no way to answer
can't.
that.
There, smoke grenade, maybe. Maybe. They didn't have radios on the fucking planes back then. All right, the guys didn't know what they were doing either. They kind of just flew over, dropped the bomb, and went home. Mostly, aircraft were used for anti-aircraft fighting, anti-blimp fighting, or big bombers that did carpet bombing campaigns. All right, fucking directly controlling. I felt so awkward when I called an actual modern airstrike in World War One. It worked the same. There's radios, but that doesn't exist. No, it's literally Battlefield 1 maps themselves promote ultra-aggressive warfare versus entrenched or line warfare.
Real quick,
they certainly aesthetically provide trenches and bunkers. What?
Would you just be able to lock the party down real quick? It's still not locked.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, it certainly provides an aesthetic of line warfare. Have you ever tried holding these defenses? You get railed over by a submachine gun. Literally, 3 submachine gunners run over your line. You're gonna get railed over. It doesn't happen. It's just they have no fear either because they're just gonna respond. There's no fear. There's no fear if you're gonna get fucked up in the dead man zone because there is no dead man zone. It's just next line, then run up to it. It doesn't exist, right? It's so quickly cleared these lines are, and due to the abundance of tanks and aircraft and automatic weaponry, your buildings are gonna get shelled to shit. Your line's going to get suppressed the fuck. You're just going to get messed up doing a line tactics, so you're forced to play like it's Battlefield 4. You're forced to play like it's modern tactics, and you all are going to play with modern tactics. It's what you know. It's okay. It's what you should know. You're going to play with modern tactics in a World War I game. It's just, I don't know how y'all can't see how that's okay. I provided some articles, some actual academic articles on why Battlefield 1's an insult to humanity. There's a nice video that compares the World War I to the Battlefield 1 trailer. Some things are accurate, but he also criticizes many things, and it's just a trailer, not the actual game. It got around. It was pretty big. All right, now we're going to talk about the MILSIM applications for Battlefield 1. This is the last part, actually, before questions. So let's just break into this. So currently, there is no hardcore mode. This is due to it being released. There's no private servers, which aren't even confirmed for private servers. They're not even confirmed. I could see them. I don't see them not providing private servers because it's more way to make money. Like, I know off me they make like fucking $300 a year, leave alone off you. So like, you know, I think they would, but it's unconfirmed yet. Battlefield 3 took 2 years for private servers. He might be waiting a while on your public servers trying to make it work, right? And there's no way to control weaponry or vehicles. This means that currently Battlefield 1 is unable to provide for even the most loosely defined variants of MILSIM. So any of you guys who transferred yesterday when it came out, or yeah, yesterday, literally signed your own death warrant because you were transferred to literally a radioactive wasteland that can't provide for your life. It was too quick. And you doing that decision fucked over your men. You killed your men. You killed your men's team. That's what you did. I don't even gotta do anything. You guys destroyed your own team by doing that because it does not provide for you a proper life. All right? But let's imply that all 3 of those became true. You would be forced to remove a majority of weaponry from the game. I'm talking probably 90%. Such as nearly every submachine gun, almost every light machine gun, and almost every semi-automatic rifle. You have to make snipers maybe 1 to 3 per side. This is based off it being 32 on 32 infantry. 3 snipers for 32 people, that's 1 to 10 ratio, is insanely high. Oh my goodness. It was more like 1 to 1,000. You know, but whatever, make it fun. 1 to 10 ratio. That's still absurd. All right, and you have to make vehicles extremely rare, especially tanks. Probably allow like 1 tank per game. That's probably the realistic ratio at best. And you weren't seeing tanks in Italy. You weren't seeing tanks in the Ottoman. Shit like that. That wasn't. That's just to make the game fun. All right, and then you'd be forcing people to play in a game style the game is simply not designed for. The game would feel clunky, it would feel awkward, probably not even entertaining or fun because you're forcing people to play a style it's not designed for. Verdun, an excellent World War I game that came out years ago, is designed for that tactic, and it is so beautifully executed. It is so fun, so realistic too. Battlefield 1's not designed for that. So if you were trying to make it realistic, unlike Battlefield 4, which can be kind of pushed, Battlefield 1 cannot. And Battlefield 1 just, I can almost imagine the game breaking apart. All right, I can just almost imagine. All right, so unless the Springfield 1903 is released with iron sight variants, American-based teams be forced to use like what the Leonfield, which I guess did happen, but you're already accommodating the game enough. Now you're gonna bend your knee even more by saying, "Well, let's just basically be British and everything." Okay, when are you gonna stop sucking Dice's dick for the language? When are you gonna stop accepting less and ask for more? Oh, it's just that's for any American team out there, right? And then you'd be forced to use prototype, non-existent weapon systems. And find themselves lying to themselves, claiming they're properly represented. So it's like Battlefield 4, for example. It's like using the fucking Gauss rifle. That's a prototype Battlefield 4, right? You're gonna let your whole team use Gauss rifles, essentially a Gauss rifle in World War I? Tight. You're realistic. Tight. See what I'm saying? It's just logic to me. Battlefield 1 and the cultural ramifications of the milsim. So you guys are accepting less with this sheep-like head nodding. It's new game. Yeah, here we go, new game. Look at the graphics. Oh wow, explosions. You are allowing such a game of Battlefield 1 to be the new face of the community. You're allowing our community standards to massively degrade. You must remember that Battlefield 4, which is far more realistic Battlefield 1, was hardly milsim.
Yeah.
We were already living in a barren desert compared to the oasis that games like Arma and Squad are. We're already living in a desert, and they literally took away our only water supply by Battlefield 1. They literally gave us out to dry. They're trying to kill Milsim, I'm almost certain. They're like some conspiracy, right? Also, if Battlefield 4 was, say, 15% Milsim. Let's say Battlefield 4 is 15% Milsim. Battlefield 1 is maybe 10% Milsim, for the example. What's next? You are allowing more and more heinous games in their community simply because it's new and shiny and that people want it.
And
we are allowing genuinely.
Just want to
let me continue this point.
Okay.
We are allowing genuinely more and more heinous games in from Battlefield 1. Where will we go? Will we be adopting Battlefront 2 next because it's close to Battlefield 1? Is that the next goal? Is Star Wars Battlefront 2? Do I get to start a Stormtrooper clan and call that Milsim? Where do we draw the line here, gentlemen? Will we just justify a COD game, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the remastered? Are we going to justify that? Say that's realistic because it's got,
what
we're going to do?
What this whole notion is about, and essentially why this has fueled so much controversy between us and other milsims, is essentially, it's just we're just trying to uphold a higher standard of games that should be adopted as milsim, and we shouldn't stoop to a lower standard like Battlefield 1. Because it's just the new thing. I think that we honestly should stick to our guns, not just as a team. I'm not just speaking about First to Far, but as a community, and hold out for something that is more applicable to what we do. That way we won't have to have things like SMSTR, and we won't have to have these drama-filled debates over what we feel like should be perceived as proper milsim style. Anyway.
Right. So we got to remember as well, we cannot make comparisons to Battlefield 4 and milsim. Battlefield 4 is not our golden standard. It is us accepting a shitty standard. Our golden standard is Arma. So if you compare Arma to Battlefield 1, Battlefield 1 does not qualify even in the shortest ways. We have to remember our golden standard. We can't just continually basing games off other games.
Well, that's the thing. Another thing, all right, to even say that Arma is a golden standard, you have to understand that in the market of milsim games on PC, Arma is there, and Arma is, hugely played, and there's a huge player base. But to say that it is like the only milsim game that's even on PC that has like a supported player base is, that's far from the truth. There's quite a diverse market there that, despite them not being as technical sufficient, they can also they're beyond anything that is right now on Xbox. And there's plenty of examples. And I mean, we play quite a few of them already just in our own time. That's just another thing. Like, it doesn't need to even be Arma. It can be something a lot more simplistic. And a lot of these games can be applied to consoles. And just there hasn't been enough support, essentially. And some games are coming, mind you. This is another thing I want to just drive home real quick, Colonel, before you get to your next point, is that it might seem like we're kind of isolating ourselves on Battlefield 4, but there is potential for other games on Xbox One. And I'm not just saying this, I know it. There's been games that we have been following, a few, which just to give some examples, there's that Battalion game that got announced last year, and it had a counterpart. I forget what its name was. There's Insurgency Modern Combat, which is going to get a full remake, essentially for with added mechanics, which is about U.S. Marines in the Iraq War, coming just next year, just as soon as next year. And I don't know about Rising Storm, but that's also a possibility as well. That's not confirmed, but many of these games fit the formula for a console port. And many of them are already making transitions over. So I don't see why we should have to hop on the bandwagon now when we can hold to our guns. And in about the time span of a year, we'll probably have something that is much better of an option than even Battlefield 4 is now. So just something that everybody should bear in mind. All right, Colonel?
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, this kind of brings us to our closing point, and that's the future of Milsim. All right, I'm not going to talk about the games and the potential. I'm going to talk about the reality of what's happening right now. We are already dividing. This is me attempting not to divide the community. I'm just trying so hard to unite the community, because whether or not you guys realize it, you may think, oh, OneFR who did this, you guys did not. No, I didn't. Battlefield 1 did. I'm the one who's actually trying to recover it, and I'm trying to recover it by doing what's right. I'm not nodding my head, but by saying, no, this game is wrong. All right, so right now we're looking at a division of Milsim, and see, Battlefield 1 is a genuine problem. If the majority of the Milsim community foolishly accepts it, you'll be effectively dividing community into what I theorize to be at least 3 factions. You got the head nodders, which these are the ones who bend their knees and lessen crucial cultural values of Milsim in order to please their men and play a new game. They falsely claim the title of Milsim and bring dishonor to the teams who came before them. So that's those of you out there who are, even after listening to me right now, you're just like, no, Battlefield 1's the way to go. Even after listening to me, you just are so adamant, probably because you just don't even like me. It's probably not even the realism. It's because you just don't even like me. It's like, no. We're the head nodders. You're the ones who are bringing death to our community because you will not accept it when you're wrong sometimes. That's just the reality. And a good leader needs to look out for men what they need, not what they want.
Siding with us, by the way, is not necessarily like an implication that you want to that be an ally, or I mean, you may not even personally like us, but this is like a completely separate issue.
It's bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You have the negotiators, and these are honestly just as bad as the head nodders. These are the ones who will attempt to play on Battlefield 4 and 1, and will try to find common ground. However, by not outright denying Battlefield 1, you're still opening the door for failure of the community, and you're willing to let our values be degraded. Then you have the realists. This is the camp that OneFR belongs to, which argues that Milsim is already too heinous and needs fixed. And Battlefield 1 just makes things worse. We call for massive change, constricting of values and definitions of Milsim, and filter of all of those who truly don't deserve that title. And I think it's necessary. We have too many in this community right now who, are they really Milsim? We just let everybody vote now? Like, I'm not going to call anybody out, but earlier someone told me, he's like, I have a vote too, because I'm a colonel. I'm like, okay. He's like, I have 2 people just found on my unit, I have a vote too. So, okay. So if I told all my men to go leave OneFR, found their own unit, and vote in favor of me, is that how I can rule the Senate? Just let anybody become what the fuck they want now? Because no problem. I'll go elect myself emperor and disband OneFR and found the first Milsim empire. Tight. If that's how we're going to allow people to do things in the community now. See how flawed that is? It needs to be a standard for, what the fuck Milsim is. What the fuck a Milsim team is. We're so standardless, anybody on fucking anything can become whatever the hell they want. It's like so liberally left. I feel like I'm going to declare myself a fairy princess, and I'm going to get pissed off at you for not calling me my proper pronoun. Apple there. I know it's kind of funny because we're getting late and we're trying to maintain the humor, I guess, but that's a genuine problem. And this raises my actual final point. The 3 types of combative stances Milsim's going to come to. So these are the 3 types of teams after all those different types of mentalities that's going to exist post-division. You got the MLG non-realistics. These are the ones who already are a majority of quote-unquote Milsim. They just assume the title, and they will bring their already heinous, play-for-fun mentality to Battlefield 1, all while parading around saying they are Milsim. And from them will spread more and more like the Halo version of Flood, because these units are always guaranteed to die. And say they have 20 members, now they have 20 new versions of them spreading their filth, and that's how that gets spread. It's like the Flood, like never ends. You gotta burn them out. You gotta fucking glass the planet, right?
Yeah.
The tactical gamers, which God love them, they try, but they're so disillusioned. These are the ones who they play tactically, but they don't understand the cultural values of Milsim, and their adoption of Battlefield 1 will further push them to the MLG camp that I said earlier, and they will be lost to the true Milsim community. You know, arguably, they are the new generation of Milsim, which they're nothing like what the ancestors, JSF 223rd, the founder of all Xbox Live Milsim. Fact. They're nothing like what the ancestors intended. And then you have the third camp, the realism Milsimmers. This is because every action is an opposite and equal reaction. Because people are going so far left, one FR and others are going so far right. These are the absolutionists of the community. Again, one FR camp, we are not only valuing precision excellence and emulation, but we also understand that Milsim is not for fun. It's for honoring our veterans, and that is done by service, not enjoyment. After watching this community, especially from the eyes of one FR, being the literal grandfather of Milsim, we all will have become angered and will found our own community entirely, defined as the absolute in Milsim. We were like the varsity, you're going to be JV then. If you guys want to change the definitions, fine. We'll go and make our better version of Milsim. And when you all will arguably die out one day, maybe, if you go in the other camps, and I'm not going to say I'm going to hunt you down, I'm just saying right now, based off 8+ years, I've been in Milsim for 12 years now, of experience, those teams always die. But yeah, here 1FR is 8+ years, oldest Milsim team on Xbox Live. You got to wonder, what are we doing right? You know, and I'm literally telling you right now the secrets to what we're doing right, and you all are still like, fuck 1FR. It's like, all right, whatever, I tried. You know? So, you know, we're just going to be so untouchable elite. Not that we can't lose, but it's because you guys won't even meet our standards, that we can't even play against you. You know, like, so we won't even lose in combat because we will have no one to fight because you all won't meet our bare minimum standards. Just be realistic, guys. Come on, just a little bit of realism. No? Okay, go ahead and jet ram. You know, I feel like I'm like a daycare sitter right now, a bunch of 12-year-olds or 5-year-olds trying to figure out how to fly their paper airplanes. So in short, Battlefield 1 is the furthest thing from Milsim. And if you have a sheep-like acceptance of an even worse game for our community, this just outright spells both A, your failure to understand the even basic requirements of a proper Milsim, past the Neanderthalic view of, oh, it's got guns and tanks, KK. You know, instead of analyzing it for what it actually is, which is a failure. And B, your decision to further ruin our community rather than better it. I, as the Colonel of 1st FR, the longest-serving active member of the entire Milsim community. Do you know that? I'm the longest-serving active member. I'm the only person in Milsim who has been here since day one. Well, not day one. 11+ years, so I'm second-generation Milsimmers. All the day oneers are gone. Who has never had a day off. Even my drill instructor, who's got 13 years, Armada, my lieutenant colonel, was my ODI. He's taken days of leave. I'm the only person who hasn't. You know, not even JSF 223 can claim that. You know, I'm going to defend my way of life that I've been here for so goddamn long for.
Can I?
You know, if I'm going to waste my life on fucking Xbox, I'm going to do it right.
I just want to add a
point.
point.
So if you choose to adopt Battlefield 1, let me finish up, Nomad. If you choose to adopt Battlefield 1, you know, I'm just going to declare you non-Milsim by my standards. You know, and I'll deny you from my community. If you want to play with me or not, fine. That's fine. You know, whatever. But we're fixing this community, everyone. We're making Xbox great again, right? Donald Trump. You know, but we're fixing this community. And if you just want to go and do your own thing on Battlefield 1, then you're proving right there that you really don't care about Milsim. You just care about fun. You just care about whatever. And you're not Milsim. You're MLG. You're making it so easy for me. You know, so that's what it is. That's what it is. So thank you for that. We will now let Nomad make his comment, and then I will open up to any questions you all have. And at the hour and 30-minute mark, I will thank you all for listening to this rant, this academic approach, really, with a little bit of passion. And I hope you all took something out of it, historically, realistically. And you just think about it. This isn't one of our trying to rule the fucking world. This is one of our trying to save our damn community. It's like I'm sitting here screaming about global warming, and you're all like, nah, it doesn't exist.
All right.
You know, this is the global warming of Milson right here.
Okay.
I'm screaming about it.
Well,
Go ahead, Al.
I was just trying to reinforce that point that you were just trying to make about us, just to clarify. Again, and this is not coming from the Colonel of First FR, but a member of it within. When you understand when we say 8 years, I want you guys to understand relatively like that is absolutely true, because unlike a lot of teams who JSF 22nd is a good example if I understand correctly. They technically have been around, but they've never made a prominent appearance in Milsim just at all, in fact. And that's because they've gone away, they've died away, and they've had to reboot themselves, essentially. And that's the thing, is that I want to make very clear is all those 8 years are credible 8 years, because there's never been like I think like you had a sort of a personal story about it got like reset on like the second week or something like that. But besides that, it's always been continuous. And it's never, and mind you, I've been in for 4 years. So in those 4 years, there's never been anything like that. So I understand, I understand very well, unless I've been lied to, which I doubt I have, at least in my 4 years of time.
We actually have records. I want to point out that everything I claim is actually in paper and digital record.
Either way, I mean, it's just that. It's that all that time is there, and all the time is understood. A couple of other things, not relative to this, but there will be, for anybody who had missed this, Twitch, because I understand there is 101 there was 104. I don't know what happened. A couple people left in the last hour and a half, but there is 101 people just in the Milsim community chat alone. And whether those people don't have accounts or they're active or not, there's a lot of people who probably need to see or need to hear our opinions of this, that have essentially not taken the time to, or they are just not around right now. And for those people, there will be a audio/video format of this stream on the First FR webpage, I believe. And so if anybody in your unit has questions about this, they can simply just go to that and they'll be able to see this whole broadcast. Yeah. You're saying?
Awesome. So with that said, I want to do a second plug to Captain Nomad for hosting this stream. Despite the fact that he being one of FAR, he's actually a hilarious Twitch streamer. Being that he plays Insurgency, Gary's Mod, all kinds of hilarious shit, actually. I really recommend you following him, not for the 1FR aspect, but because he's actually funny as hell. And you will see some shenanigans of 1FR command staff, see a lighter side of us, the non-asshole colonel you guys got to know. I'm actually a nice guy, and you get to see that, I guess, or not. But give him a like, give him a follow. He's done a great job by hosting us by this. I think the format's actually excellent as well. We all have to agree. He's got this thing hooked up really well for a Twitch stream. So give him a follow, give him a like, check out his YouTube. Good plug overall. Just thank you for that.
Thank you.
So with this said, with him moderating, I'm going to take the floor for questions. Please try to keep them relevant to one topic, not like multiple topics at once. Let's do one topic at a time, please.
I'll start off while people are coming up with more questions. Going back to a couple that we didn't get to answer before, and there's a long chat here. People have been very active in this, as you can probably see.
Thank you all for that. Seriously, it means a lot that you're active in our community.
Going back to the stolen valor thing. Geez, I just thought of a good question. The idea was USMC. I'm your number one fan, Nomad. So, KWAS Awesomeness asked a question a little while ago. I think this you didn't. I don't know if you actually really touched on this, but this is again going back to the technology of Battlefield 1 and World War 1, and the comparison between them. What about? I guess what he's asking is what's our take on the naval aspect of Battlefield 1?
Interesting. So the naval aspect, the Dreadnought is actually pretty historically correct. I unless they bring it on another game mode, I'm kind of sad because they could have done a lot more than that. That I thought actually had a lot of potential.
Yeah, I think it's kind of lame.
Yeah, I mean, it gets destroyed pretty easy on a game side. In my opinion, from when I use it, it gets destroyed pretty fucking easy. Realistically, a battleship would be out by miles, nowhere near field gun range, but they had to make it a game. Again, another example of entertainment versus realism. But the patrol boats I can comment on. The invasion of Gallipoli was notorious because the British soldiers were rowing with a wooden boat. To imagine a World War I D-Day, the Brits did that. It was a massive failure. Churchill got demoted from admiral to fucking seaman apprentice because of this. Because they got massacred on the beach. Massacred, right? And that's because of rowboats. So patrol boats, I look at them. I'm not going to claim I'm a master of naval history, but I don't think these patrol boats mostly exist. I can't imagine that. With torpedoes, fucking heavy machine guns. Literally, it's like a fucking RCB, right? I'm not gonna. Again, I'm not a master of naval history, so I will admit this is a flaw. But I think this might be a little bit of creativeness of the battlefield, because if boats like that existed, why would the British soldiers row on the fucking beach and not take an earlier version of the fucking Higgins boat? The Higgins boat was so innovational in World War II because it was actually armored boat for holding troops. My God, game changer. The reason why General Lejeune of the Marine Corps, Camp Lejeune, why he's so important, he wasn't in charge of any war. He was a commander in World War I, but he was more important because he set up the Marine Corps for success in World War II by making it more amphibious. He required the Amtraks to get built. The armored fucking tanks to be built. He's the one who pushed for that. That's post World War I. So an armored patrol boat that's heavily armored and gunned. I don't know. And as far as I played, that's the only two aspects of naval warfare that I have seen. If there's any more, I'd be interested, but I don't know. I think that it could have been more, and they just didn't for the dreadnoughts, and then the patrol boats are just what I don't even know.
Okay. Let's start our. Somebody's asking why we aren't on Arma.
Are we on Arma? So I get this question actually not just asked by you, but by my entire fucking team. Why don't we transfer Arma, Colonel? Why don't we transfer Arma? Because we've been here for so long. I'm not going to give up on this goddamn community. I've been here since day one, or almost day one. When I was like 11 years old. I was a recruit, USMC 22nd, back on Xbox Original. All right, and ever since then, I've been on Xbox Live, and I've been determined to make Milsim work here. We live in a desert compared to the Garden of Eden that teams like 15th U on Arma have. They have a couple thousand members. They're considered the golden standard of Milsim, but I would argue they're not. How hard is it when you have TeamSpeak with the ability to talk to hundreds of fucking players, when you have the game give you everything you need without mods, and then with mods it's even more? How hard is it to strive there? The fact that we're here is a testament to our.
Can I add something in real quick?
Testament to our.
I just want to say, and mind you, I don't know about you, but I not regularly, but I have spoken to some of these other Milsim representatives, even on Arma, and they formally recognize our existence. By the way, we aren't just fucking we're not just fucking chess club kids on Xbox. A lot of PC Milsims actually do understand who First FR is. I don't recount many of their names. Colonel, we were talking about them a little while ago. A 19th MR. Do you know what I'm talking about?
There's so many thousands on the PC, just like on Xbox.
Okay, but, well, maybe not. Okay, well, I was thinking about one in specific. But anyway, besides the point, the one thing that generally a lot of them lack that I think this team does especially well is you would think between us on Arma Milsims and Battlefield Milsims, there would be probably a separation of discipline. And again, I want to just point to our initial training, our boot camp, which is done over 8 weeks, which kind of is a bit intimidating to think of because, again, this is for an Xbox team, just a leisure team. And we take it seriously. We do 8 weeks of training, and mind you, it is only one day on the weekend, but our drill instructors, they go hard. You'll see people who you probably never thought, take the game as seriously as they do. And we go by the motto, the only way to quit First FR boot camp is to quit yourself. That's how hard that they will push you. Nobody can essentially disqualify to the point. Well, I mean, obviously if you're there to troll, but nobody can be disqualified by the drill instructors. They can only push them out. Milsims, they don't hold the same level, same standards of Milsim, despite having all the technical ramifications that a game like Arma and mods added on top of that bring to their experience. So I kind of just wanted to make a point of that.
I want to reinforce something here as well. Back to the initial point is that our recruit training is 8 weeks long, and yeah, you do once a week, one day a week, but during the week as well, you also have the recurring refreshing in memory. But in our recruit training, we value culture and history, and not just you don't even learn a single combat tactic in recruit training. You get that in SOI, which is another 16 days after boot camp. So we take it very seriously, and you don't really see that on the Arma value. I won't lie. Back in the early days of 1FR, I kind of jointly played Arma 2 while 1FR was up and going, and they had no standards. There was no standards. It was just, if you want to join, you can join, and when you join, you kind of get floated through a boot camp, and now you're good to go. You're a soldier, whatever the fuck, right? Mm-hmm. So we already do that well. So the fact that we are striving here in a desert,
yeah,
I don't want to go to. I don't want to go to the Garden of Eden, because you know what? I want to make sure the Garden of Eden fucking burns, and they have to come to us.
Yeah.
That PC Master Race, it's about to be done, because PCs may be good, but consoles are catching up. And I'm about to sit here saying, "Ha! Been on Xbox since day one, motherfuckers. Fall in line."
Yeah. Well, that's a great point to drive home. Another question though. Aunt Shido's asking. And we did kind of touch on this before, so I'm thinking he's just kind of coming here now. Why isn't it okay to explore the Battlefield 1 community? Like, they're going to fail. Let them realize that. I think we as a community need to allow people to see it for themselves, and why BF1 is such a terrible decision.
Oh, well, you're right. They can explore the fuck they want. They can play whatever the hell game they want. Right now, we have no community standards for what milsim is, although I gave you a very dictionary definition at the beginning. One that I don't think there's any way you can actually argue unless you want to tell me the English language is wrong. So aside from that, though, we have no unity standard. So yeah, they can go to Battlefield 1, but you know what? They're going to die. They're going to fail. Whatever. I'm trying to save our community from that division. That's why. You can go if you want. I cannot stop you, but I want to save our community from that division. I want to, which is why I'm here talking to you now.
This is much more about setting a precedent than it is.
Example, standard. We have to be the quote-unquote bad guys if we must to save this community. And we're not even being bad guys. As you hear us talking, we're not insulting anybody. We're not being assholes. We're just trying to explain why this game cannot work. We're trying to save you the harm, the horror of your team dying. We're trying to save you all from that, actually. That's what we really are doing. Because 1FR is not going. I'm not scared. I know we're going to be fine. We're going to live for decades. I know that for a fact. I want you all to do the same. I really do. So that's why. You guys, at the end of the day, I can't stop you. It's Xbox Live. It's not like real life. But you'll regret it. It would be a very bad decision. Not because I'll enforce it, but because you, I guarantee, will just... I don't even know how you can right now. There's no private servers, but whatever. Go ahead and try. Prove me wrong.
I think right now, I would like to kind of clarify. I mean, obviously right now, it's in no state to be adopted by a team formally. I mean, unless you're just like a social group, who want to all bear the same tags. But I mean, that's essentially what you are, whether you call yourself the Navy SEAL Division or, I don't know, just a clan name or something like that. There's no, room for formal establishment of any sort of online leisure organizations, whether it be clans or milsims. But right now, as it sits, even with considerations of the modifiers that Battlefield 4 has, it is still quite a stretch that it would become like a proper game where milsim can exist on. And again, like the point here is that, and this is something that honestly it isn't necessarily a new revelation for me. I feel like we've been preaching this for years. Is that like us as a console community, we deserve better. We deserve better games. We deserve a much larger variety of games just in general, I feel like. And functionally, we should be able to have games like Red Orchestra and Arma and stuff like that, and maybe even not Arma, but just other games. So again, like there's plenty of other games that we have our sights on that would potentially make I already know from playing quite a few of them, but would make a way better platform to have milsim established on than Battlefield 1 or Battlefield 4 ever had. So that's the thing. And again, not very far away in the future. These games are coming out. But Verdun was already supposed to be out by now. It just got delayed. So, yeah. All right.
And it got delayed because it knew Battlefield 1 would push it out. So they're letting everybody fucking play their Battlefield 1, realize how shitty it is, and then they're going to launch. You know what? It'll be great. I think it will.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm all for that.
I mean, I played on the PC, but it's great. Next question, please. Let's keep this train rolling.
I'm kind of going back to some of the earlier questions because I know there were some that we had missed. Do you think Battlefield 1 could use maneuver warfare? Oh, no, we already answered that. Hold on one moment. To be milsim, do you need a
Let's try to avoid questions we already answered. I want to get fresh concepts to discuss because I know it's getting kind of late. So.
Okay. Well, then I'll try to take one more. This is a question I have actually, and that is, with all the modifiers on, and there's some special things in the Battlefield 1 server browser, which I pointed out to you, that had weapon filters. Essentially, you can find games without SMGs, without LMGs, without rifles and stuff, and you can customize it automatically. And as well as that, there's a slot for custom games. Now, again, this is a hypothetical, and I doubt it does not change our view on this at all. But just for clarification to other people who are watching this, despite all those things, what truly makes, or even if we were to implement those things in their entirety and stretch out this game and probably make it like way harder than it is at face value, essentially trying to make it like the most handicapped version of Battlefield 1 that we can to make it the most authentic and realistic. Why is it still not suitable?
Well, let's imply that DICE gives us every kind of modifying ability possible to a game.
Mm-hmm.
So let's imply this golden world where we actually can modify everything.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, you set it up to be realistic damage, realistic bullets, all that niceness. Hardcore, that's no problem. Weaponry, you're able to restrict weaponry to only the ones that existed. As we discussed, that'll make the game probably extraordinarily clunky. Probably not going to work well. I can only imagine the shotgun, pistol, 1 or 2 LMGs, 1 SMG, 1 sniper, a couple bolt actions being utilized. So it'll feel very limited for sure. Tanks, you can probably control tanks to where one side maybe gets no tank usage, the other side gets maybe 1 or 2. Again, only the Germans can use anti-tank weaponry properly. Only Germans would be able to do that. So if you're Italian versus fucking Austrian, and they have a tank, you got to use a field gun.
Yeah.
It's your only option. Yeah. Oh, something like that. And the concept of the historical race problem cannot be changed, so that would always be breaking history, which to me is an insult, which then alone is non-milsim. But
that's
let's say you don't care about race.
There's no way to change the uniforms at all.
There's not. And let's say you don't care about race. Let's say there is a way to change uniform. Actually, let's say they give you that. I've caught rumors on Reddit that there was a prototype uniform changing ability on the battle log.
Prototype
Rumors. So you have that.
Yeah.
Let's say you have that. Let's say you have that just for the discussion. We're trying to give Battlefield the most chance it has, right? You still have the problem of combat tactics. You have to enforce that people basically don't sprint, maintain lines. You can't allow paratroopers. You gotta control rates of fire.
Yeah.
Back then, people didn't just freely fire. They actually had firing commands. I teach this in one of our boot camp for history. You remember that? Double tap, first round, whatever. Remember that shit? I teach that because that's history. That's how we shot in World War I. You were controlled by a platoon leader. He decided your fire rate. You literally could stand in front of a soldier and not fire because I want you to imagine they took Revolutionary War line tactics and applied it to modern warfare. It still existed like that. It was just slightly modified, but it still was that controlled. Where ready, they took a bullet because you're front row. That sucks. Same shit. Modern guns. So you gotta do that. Again, we're trying to make it historic. So the thing is, can you make Battlefield 1 ultra realistic with a lot of modification? Yes. Will it be milsim? Never. It would never be milsim for thousands of reasons. It will never be historically accurate. It will never be realistic. It will never be right. It will never be honoring. It won't be milsim.
I want
If you don't think milsim's about those values, you think it's just about realism, then yeah, it's realism. It's realistic.
I want to tie into
Actually, I'll be honest, OneFR does plan on making a realism server, a public server, realism public server.
Oh, that's a good
With
point.
those rules, just to provide the community and MLG community that thing, but it won't be milsim. It will never be milsim.
So I just want to tie into this real quick, and this will probably be what we're going to be finishing off. But I had a question, Colonel. I was just thinking about this while you were talking about the extent that we have to go to make Battlefield 1, at all, established for milsim. Call of Duty, and specifically, to my knowledge, Call of Duty 4 specifically on the PC, does have a very small realism community. And again, this is Call of Duty. And on Call of Duty, I don't know, people don't know this, but it's specific Call of Duty 4, there's a huge modding community. So they're able to do stuff like they're able to have modifiers, and they're able to have different weapon skins and stuff like that, and a bunch of stuff. And it's almost a completely different experience to a certain extent. But it's a good example of what you're talking about, where the core mechanics, a lot of the core mechanics can't be changed because mods are built on top of a game that already exists. And me and Second Lieutenant Danny, we've played on quite a few of these realism servers, and they're kind of fun. They're pretty arcadey, but it kind of just drives your point home, I feel like, where they have to enforce things like you can't stand up, you can't move around the map standing. You always have to be moving around crouch. And the only reason why you can stand up, or even sprint for that matter, is to get away from something. And that's something that they can't enforce with their mods. That's something that they can only enforce with like admins in the server. The admins have to get on comms, and they have to tell people, hey, you're not allowed to sprint. It's okay that you did it that time, but don't do it again. And they kick people who are sprinting and standing up, and people who are, spraying their guns erratically and doing stuff that they don't condone as realism. And it's fun, but like I would never consider joining one of those because it's not something that I can personally take seriously, and I don't really feel like it even has that much longevity. And also, again, it's like it's like playing on a playground, and there's a supervisor there telling me how to play. Like, that's the thing. Like, I shouldn't. If I want realism, I'm gonna go somewhere else. If I want to play like a milsim style game, I'm gonna go somewhere else. I don't want to have to constantly have somebody police me about how to play. I want to have a game that has the mechanics built into it that incorporate the type of design for the game style that we want, right? So anyway, so Colonel, we're coming up on 2 hours here. Let's wrap this up. How about that?
So thank you all for your questions. If you didn't get your question answered and it was really pressing to you to get answered, please send me a message or something, and I'll try to get back to you about that. I ask that you all consider what we presented to you today. It was all, as you saw, non-biased. It was all, excuse me. The things about OneFR, of course, were biased. But when it comes to the historical things, when it comes to the things like that, yeah, that was non-biased. That was basic fucking history and realism and tactics, based actual fact.
Yes.
I ask you all to consider that. I'll ask you all to consider the livelihood of your teams. I'm not going to be the one who kills you. You're killing yourselves. And that's something you should be fearful of. That's a reality. And go ahead and walk out of this with stubbornness, prove me wrong, whatever. But I just ask you all to really consider what I said. All right, I am at war with a couple of teams for reasons not Battlefield 1, but because they decided to be completely heinous. Don't worry about that. But I'm not going to outright declare war on people because of Battlefield 1. I can't, actually, because I'm not going to fight you on Battlefield 1. I'm not going to. I will declare you non-milsim in my eyes. I will do that because you're not milsim. I've given you reasons why you're not milsim. So if you still choose to do Battlefield 1, hey, have fun. That's good. But you're more tactical gamers. You're not milsim. That's okay. Milsim is just it means you want more than a video game than just tactics. You want honor, you want culture, you want value, you want realism. You want all these things. Tactical gamers just want realism. Battlefield 1 can, quote unquote, can be realistic if it gives us what we need. But even right now, I wouldn't recommend any team, MLG or nothing, to come here because there's not even private servers. So just outright abandoning Battlefield 4 and living on public servers for the next who knows how fucking long, and Battlefield 3 was actually 2 years. I don't know what to tell you. I've tried. I've given you the speech. I've written the notes. I've left the milsim community chat. I founded the Real Sim community chat. And we're going to go from there.
Right.
So thank you all for Captain Nomad's channel. It's actually hilarious. And check out his YouTube channel as well. We got some preloaded videos on there of what we do on here. If you don't believe me about this live stream, check out that YouTube. It's Mr. W. It's got all of our shit, a bunch of shenanigans, a bunch of craziness on there. I think you all will love it. It's actually fucking hilarious. Like, I think it's hilarious. So please watch that shit. Doing this shameless plug. Judge me for all you want. Thank you all for coming out. I really appreciate you all coming out and checking out what I have to say. And I hope I've proven to you, not just Battlefield 1's bad, but also One of FR's here to do good. You know, we have a very strong background, academic background. We're here to help. Here to help. And I actually have a surprise for the community, and it's going to piss off Nomad so bad.
Oh, geez.
Under advisement of my lieutenant colonel, my diplomatic advisor, due to us leaving the Milsim community, I am authorizing, if you come and request to me, every manual we've ever created for you to have. The current versions. Crew training, boot camp, SOI, MCT, air, armor, you name it, it is yours. I only ask that you do right by it and do Milsim right. That's all I want. It's for Milsim to be Milsim.
You heard it
not
here,
just
folks.
Tactical game. That's on history right there, live stream. So please call me out on it and get those manuals. Don't do it to me tonight though. I want to go to fucking bed. Do it to me tomorrow. You know, refer to me tomorrow. But right there, we're here to help. We want Milsim to flourish, not die.
All right.
Thank you all for coming out.
All right. I'm gonna get my own closing remarks because this is my fucking channel. Fuck you, bitch. There is just real quick. I did just want to just reply to this, and this is the thing I'm just learning about Twitch, despite like I've only had this channel, like I've taken it seriously since about July. But whenever there's something that you want from the audience, they always wait until the very last question to actually, or the very last minute to ask something good. So anyway, two things. There was this one guy here who said, so what would you say to the topic of where people believe you're not switching because of how 1FR were not existent back then, and the 1FR name, and you would lose all your power and recognition? I think what he's tying that to is saying that since there was not a First Force Recon battalion, that is why we do not want to adopt it. And I think we've kind of already established that. I mean, just real quick. Again, we have established that, but I'll touch upon that real fast. Yeah, okay.
1FR existed before Battlefield. We literally existed. We actually were founded on fucking Call of Duty 4. Quickly changed, but we were founded on Call of Duty 4. All right, and so like it doesn't matter what game we're on. We're a community. Right, it's important. Literally, I had people I meet in real life here to laugh at this. They call me sir. They call me sir because I'm the colonel. We are more than a video game. We are more than just Battlefield. We're more than just Xbox. We are First FR. That's a title. As I explained before, you know, we're more the Marine Corps than First FR. We keep that as our history because we were founded on an infantry-only game where we were emulating the Force Recon. Now, you know, like it's like asking, you know, the USA to change their name because they're not the USA. I can't even make an example. We're not changing our name. We are Force Recon. We are First Force Recon. Our infantry are First Force Recon. Every Marine is a rifleman. Every Marine gets Force Recon training, and then our armor and air are attachments. You know, so that's what that is. Next question, please. Nobody had a second one.
And this was in, I guess, sort of in response to what I was saying. I think I've deduced why you don't like ARMA. You can't take Call of Duty seriously, so how could you handle the checkpoint duty in ARMA? And I just want to go on the record saying, I personally do not like, or I personally don't mind ARMA. Like me and fucking Major Sandman play it. You kind of don't really. You're kind of mixed.
I don't like ARMA because I hate keyboard.
Yeah,
that's why I don't like ARMA.
I'm not gonna lie, Colonel. You're pretty ass.
That's exactly
you're pretty ass at computer games, but.
That's the only reason why I hate ARMA, because I hate the keyboard. I want to use a controller. You know me. I try hooking up my controller and I always cuss because it fucks up.
We play the
game. That's the only reason I don't like ARMA. I love ARMA.
Between some officers, I don't know, like just between the the officer circle of this team. Yeah, we play games like ARMA quite a bit, and like Major Sandman is all about the mods and ARMA and stuff like that. And like we're not noobs to ARMA. I would like to say I'm fairly intermediate. I have about 230 hours logged on it, but that's not really the reason why. Well, first of all, I don't like it, but that's not the reason why. That's not necessarily the reason why we haven't considered ever adopting it. And again, that's something we've
not abandoning Xbox.
Yeah, again, we're loyal to Xbox, and we don't believe that we should have to compromise that regard of our culture, and the community shouldn't as well to play a other game. And seriously, I would never want to join an ARMA community just for the sake of playing ARMA over playing Battlefield. Because my team is here.
What we should do we gotta close real soon. What we should do is unite and force game developers to bring Arma here. And the only way you can do that is by starting with a basic definition. And I propose to you the definition that I gave you via a dictionary. Can't argue the English language. That's how we should unite. And then from there, we can make great changes in our community. Alpha 1's not the answer, though. That is 2 hours.
Yeah, that is 2 hours. That is 2 hours. And just in my opinion, by the way, Circa on Prime, I don't feel like that was dodging your question at all. I feel like that was a truthful answer. But anyway, we're closing here. We've been streaming for 2 hours. If you have any questions, feel free to message me or the Colonel on Xbox. I'll probably be more in a position to respond to them about this, and or hit us up online for you guys that have us online. I'm not going to toss my line info out there because it's not exactly a widespread format for people who are not Milsim watching this. But feel free to send me a message about this stuff or come talk to me personally. We are open to discussion. I want everybody to understand that we are being quite we're being quite forthcoming about all this stuff. We're being fairly optimistic about it, and that's why we're having this sort of like a podcast style press conference where we're talking about this stuff and putting it on a platform where everybody can listen. So anyway, thank you guys for coming. This channel has had a lot more people consistently watching it over the last 2 hours than it regularly does. So that's awesome. Again, I put a lot of effort into this Twitch channel, and I'm glad to see it pay off in some ways, even if it is helping my Milsim team. I think that's great. And don't also just follow if you haven't, and subscribe to my YouTube if you haven't, but check out the First Force Recon web link that I have down there. And on there is the First FR YouTube channel and all the other crazy shenanigans that goes on there. So anyway, all right, yeah, let's close her down. Thank you everybody for coming out.
Everyone.